Welcome to the Commander Companion YouTube channel. My name is AJ, and today I'm going to take you through my Prismatic Bridge, Big Stompy, Big Creature beatdown deck. So the core of the deck is land ramp with mana fixing, minimal card draw, and we want to cheat in big creatures from in our deck. There are some ways to get them out of our hand if necessary, but the majority of the idea is to Prismatic Bridge big creatures in one at a time. Fair, kind of. It seems like it at first glance, and most of the play groups are probably going to look at it and go, okay, it's either going to cheat in a bunch of Planeswalkers, assuming that it's a Super Friends deck, or they're going to assume that it's just, it's big stompy, big deal. And then you're going to flip an Avacyn or a Elish Norn or a Sierra Avatar, and they're going to start second-guessing some of their answers throughout the game. Instead of targeting you, they targeted somebody else, and now they're in trouble. So we're going to go through the land base first, and then we'll go on to the color fixing / mana ramp, and we'll go through the non-creature spells, and then I'm going to hit all the creatures. So our land package starts out with the World Tree, great mana fixing on a land. We have Exotic Orchard, we have Command Tower, we have Path of Ancestry, Corrosive Verge, Ash Barrens, Sunpetal Grove, Smoldering Marsh, Darkboar Pathway, Sunken Hollow, Ketra Triome, Indantha Triome, Ziggurat Triome, Savai Triome, and then we have our basic lands. We have 10 forests, we have 2 islands, 2 plains, 2 swamps, and 2 mountains. The package for lands consists mainly of green for the fact that our land ramp package is all green. So we have Farseek, we have Growth Spiral, Migration Path, Kodama's Reach, Explore, Search for Tomorrow, Rampant Growth, Cultivate, and then we have a small slew of mana rocks, including Commander Sphere, Arcane Signet, Chromatic Lantern, Sphere of the Suns, and Replicating Ring. Replicating Ring is more of a test card at the moment, because it seems kind of wonky and fun when they don't answer that, and instead they're answering other people's or your big creatures. So now we have our card draw. So we have minimal on that. We have more card selection. So we have Urban Evolution to give us ourselves an extra land and also to draw 3. Anticipate, card selection off the top 3, put the other 2 to the bottom. Abundance for selection. Once we get the Prismatic Bridge out, it's nice to hit lands for a little bit instead of creatures, so we can just flip the creatures. And then See the Truth, another way to search the top couple cards of our library, put one into our hand, put the rest in the bottom of our library. Next, we have our non-creature cheat creatures out. So we have Mirror March, which is less of a cheat creatures out and more of a making multiples of non-legendaries, or if it's a legendary, making a bunch of copies of them and then sacrificing them all to the legend rule. If it has an ETB, it's just amazing, like Garuda. If you make 5-6 copies of Garuda, people are going to be in trouble. We have Guild Feud. It's a pet card of mine that I've been trying to find a really good home for. But Guild Feud, you target a player. Each of you reveals the top 3 cards of your library, them first, then you. They pick a creature out of theirs, you pick a creature out of yours, and if both of you have one, they fight. Yours is probably going to come out on top with this deck. Then we have Court of Bounty. So it gives you Monarch card advantage, and then it also gives you a chance on your upkeep, if you are the Monarch, to put a creature out from your hand, so you can cheat those ones that you've drawn into. Also, if you're not the Monarch, you still get to put a land out, so that's still good one way or the other. Then we have our non-creature removal spells. So we have Deadly Rollick, Terminate, Aura Shards as an all-star in this deck, considering how many creatures we're flipping into. Putrefy, Mortify, Despark, Crush Contraband, Beast Within, and Abrupt Decay. I know I'm missing some of the more efficient removal spells, but those that I only have one copy of are in other decks currently. Then we have Maskwood Nexus, which combos with the World Tree incredibly well. That is, in particular, the only reason this card is in here. When you make everything a god with the Maskwood Nexus, World Tree gets to get all of your creatures out of your deck and put them all into the battlefield, which means they'll all have hexproof and indestructible because of other permanents in our deck. The only way to get rid of that at that point is Mass Exile. Then you're kind of out of the game. So next we have our beatdown creatures. So we have our Sierra Avatar. We have our Hellkite Tyrant, Beldross Witherbloom, Impervious Greatworm, Triplicate Titan, Chancellor of the Annex, Omnath Locus of Rage, Utvara Hellkite, Akroma Vision of Ixidor, Soul of Eternity, Kamal Heart of Karosa, Avenger of Zendikar, and Liege of the Tangle. So the big takeaways from the big boys here is Hellkite Tyrant is a win condition on his own. Most of the time in EDH, everyone's playing artifacts to ramp. It doesn't take much to really get him going. Beldross Witherbloom has potential to untap all your lands for 10 life, which isn't really that bad, especially considering we have different ways to gain life periodically. Impervious Greatworm is just a giant beater. Then we have these two, Sierra Avatar and Soul of Eternity. Both of these go based on your life, so if you flip into them early game, it's going to be difficult to stop you unless people have chump blockers for days. And also, if you remove Sierra Avatar, she goes back to your deck unless they exile her. And then if they remove Soul of Eternity, you can just encore it back in a couple turns. And then they have 3 of them to deal with haste. Next, we have our Creature Card Advantage package, which is Garuda, Doom of Depths, Sepulchral Primordial, Itali, Primal Storm, Emiria Shepherd, Rhea Dawnbringer, Nezahal Primal Tide, and Vilis Broker of Blood. Garuda is a great all-star card in this deck. You flip into her, and you're flipping everyone's top 4 and getting the best even converted mana cost among all 4 decks, or 5, or 6, whoever's playing. Sepulchral Primordial is going to get something out of each opponent's graveyard, and it's fantastic normally. Itali Primal Storm gets 1 off of each player's top. Emiria Shepherd brings back something from your graveyard to your hand, or if you play a Plains, you get it back to the battlefield straight away, non-land permanent, so you can get any of your enchantments even back. Rhea Dawnbringer brings back a creature card from your graveyard on each of your upkeeps. Nezahal has done work in this deck. I have drawn so many cards with this card. And then you could just save it by discarding 3 cards, or if they try to remove it again in the same turn, just discard 3 more cards. You're gonna have enough with him out. And then Vilis Broker of Blood is just great card draw, and it's a flying 8/8. It's not bad to flip into, even if you don't need the card advantage. So next we have 3 creatures that cheat other creatures out. We have Kodama the East Tree, which has been one of my favorite cards out of Commander Legends, honestly. You flip off the top of the library with your Prismatic Bridge a Vilis Broker of Blood, and let's say you have an Avacyn in your hand. You just play out Avacyn from your hand afterwards with Kodama's trigger. Golos just acts like a second Prismatic Bridge, essentially, allowing us to flip the top 3 cards and then cast all 3 of them for free. And then Ilgar lets us utilize our creatures from our hand yet again by putting them into the battlefield and abusing enter the battlefield triggers. Like if we, put out Garuda over and over and over. Especially if we have something like Mirror March out while Ilgar's out. So now we come across our creature removal package, which consists of Bane of Progress, Kog'Maw the Titan Ape, Terastodon, Overseer of the Damned, Tyrant's Familiar, Elesh Norn, Woodfall Primus, Silverclad Ferocidons, Massacre Worm, and Terror of the Peaks. So the big all-stars here are Terror of the Peaks, mainly for the fact that you're going to be flipping big creatures. You're going to be hitting everyone for a lot of damage very often. Then we have Elish Norn. Elish Norn just is a great oppressive piece in any deck that can run her. But in this one in particular, you flip her off the top when no one's expecting it, and instantly the Elves player is dead. Anyone that's running Kinnan most likely is dead. Anyone that's running for any reason tokens or white weenies is gone, unless they have a bunch of anthems out. Not that white weenies is particularly prominent in EDH, but still, it's a factor. And then you have Massacre Worm that does the same exact thing, but also pings everyone down, but it's only for the turn. Lastly, we have our creature utility package. Avacyn makes everything indestructible and is wonderful. Verdant Sun's Avatar is our only way to gain some life, and it's not bad to flip into a 5/5. It's not the greatest, but from then on, we're gaining life so we can fuel Beledross's ability or Soul of Eternity or Avatar of Sierra's Avatar. And we can just gain a bunch of life, and it's great. It also saves us from the aggro player. Archetype of Endurance. Creatures you control have hexproof. All your opponents control lose hexproof. This is our way of getting around anyone that has a hexproof deck like Narset Enlightened Master, but more than likely they're going to win as soon as they get her out. But if they're playing somehow a fair Narset deck, we flip into this, we remove her. And Morog, Fury of Akum, is just kind of an interesting card. I found it fun to flip into and get extra combats out of it. It has a lot of potential, but the ceiling is great. The floor is a 6/6 for 6. It's not bad. So that's the entire deck. It runs where you want to mulligan your hand to start with to have at least 3 ramp pieces, hopefully, 2 or 3. And no creatures, if possible. Depending on the mulligan rules you're following, it's a lot easier to do that. My play group follows the partial Paris mulligan, which means we can put any number of cards to the side from our hand and then draw that many from the top. It gives a little easier fixing for this deck, but in a normal mulligan situation, you just, even if you have to go down to 5, as long as you have 3 lands and 2 land ramp, you can color fix and be pretty fine normally. The main idea is to just beat down with this deck. It's a very simple plan, but very effective. That does it for this deck tech. I thank you all for watching and listening to me drone on about one of my favorite stupidly fun decks I built. Please like, subscribe, and comment below with your builds or ideas that you have or criticisms about the deck that you don't agree with. And let me know if you'd like me to continue to do the deck techs here, and if you'd like any specific deck tech done with my ideas on it. Also, if you'd like any more of the Versus videos or any suggestions you'd like for the channel. I have nothing else for you guys, so I hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you again next week.